Hello and welcome to Boomer Bust NFL Fantasy Football Podcast, coming to you from G4 Podcast Studio. We're now coming to the end of week 5 and we've got plenty to get through. And tonight you're in for a treat with the guests we have waiting. My usual co-host Shug isn't here tonight because he's taking the huff because he gets stuffed in fantasy football this weekend by Toasty, so he's declined the invite. I'm only kidding, he's actually over in Lanzarote. So tonight I'm joined by Drew. You got a win this weekend by the looks of it, so well done. How are you feeling about that?
I feel great, but you can never speak too soon. He's got 2 players playing tonight, so I want to say it's in the bag, but you never know with fantasy football.
It'd be great if you get beaten. We could clip this up and come
No,
back
don't. No. It would have been even better if I can, I'm going to win it, and then I get beat, So I've stayed quiet in the chat. We'll see what happens tonight.
No sound bites, that's good. And I'll not keep our other guest waiting for much longer. He's one part of the Franchise Tag podcast, writes for Verge Magazine, part of the X's and O's podcast, and he's one of my favourite NFL UK content creators. It's George from George on Sports. George, you're a busy man and it's been a good weekend for you. A Colts fan, so you get a win. An Arsenal fan, you get a win there, and you've also been at NFL London. How's it been?
Great. Firstly, thank you for that. That's spot on. You're right. I do get kind of busy, but I mean, it's an amazing thing to be able to say that I find myself busy with all things NFL. Yes, I'm a Colts fan. Yes, I'm riding the wave, obviously beating Kansas and then winning our game against the Denver Broncos too, albeit in an ugly fashion. Yes, I'm an Arsenal fan, so top of the league. I got no complaints whatsoever. I'm loving that all day long.
Yeah, I must say, Arsenal, they're a wee bit more entertaining than the Colts at the moment, if you don't mind me saying that.
Massively. Listen, it's a good thing that Arsenal are doing well, because if they weren't doing well, I'd be a very, very depressed guy right now. Can't deal with 2 teams being trashed, so to speak. So yeah, I'm glad that Arsenal are doing good. Colts, we got a long way to go. We got to fire some guys. We need to get rid of some players. We need to sign some players actually. But yeah, it's a great time, especially when the NFL comes to London. I mean, it's an amazing time for everyone involved, especially if you're a fan of the sport like myself and you guys too.
Yeah, and you've been right in amongst it. For anyone that doesn't follow George at the moment, I'd recommend it. He's at George on Sports on Instagram. To be honest, what I said at the top of the show, you're probably one of my favourite content creators for the likes of, you've kind of brought me closer to it in terms of the games in London. I've been very jealous, considering I'm a Giants fan this weekend. So you were up close and personal with the open training and the Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones I seen yesterday after the game. How was that?
It was great. Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky enough and I'm very grateful, and I always have to sort of remind myself that I get to do these kind of things where I get to go to press conferences, I get to go to media days or training days, and I get to be up close and personal, like you say, with Brian Daboll post game conference after that humongous win against Green Bay, which, by the way, the Tottenham Stadium was pretty much Packers fans. It was like a home game for the Packers. I mean, they were the home team anyway, but Brian Daboll actually said in the post-game conference, I felt like I was in Green Bay. So to come out and get a win, then if you saw the way he celebrated on the field after he sort of got the win and walked off, he was lapping it all up, and he, rightly so, because they pulled off the win.
A lot of restricted views for the cheeseheads.
Yeah.
Honestly, so many fans. Any Green Bay fan that I spoke to was someone who'd flown in from Green Bay. Bearing in mind, this is the first time the Packers have been in the UK. Aaron Rodgers has wanted the team to come over for so long. They finally do it. Obviously, they don't have superstar Devontae Adams anymore. But he, at the press conference with the Packers, because I also went to that one too, Rodgers, he would basically was saying, I want to put on a show. I want to air the ball out. We want to, we want the fans to be loud on defense, but quiet on offense. But the Giants stole their cheese, so to speak.
Yes, and I'm delighted, but we'll get onto that. We'll get to that. I'm the cat that got the cream. I'm so happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, are you a man for the fantasy football, George?
Yep. Big fantasy football fan. I think I've played it for as long as I've been into the sport. I don't know how many years now, but yeah, big fantasy football fan. Absolutely.
Awesome. And how did you get on this weekend?
You don't want to know.
No.
So put it this way: I only ever play one league because it needs my full and undivided attention.
Me and you both.
This season I've jumped into 2. In one league I'm 4-0. In the other league I now will be 5-0. Sorry. And the other one I'll now be 3-2, which isn't awful. But basically, I had Teddy Bridgewater as one of my quarterbacks in one of my 2 QB leagues, and Matt Stafford was my other quarterback.
Oh, God.
My pants. Yeah, exactly. So,
Not too fun.
I've only racked up about 50, 60 something points, and I've lost. Yeah, got no chance.
No, that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare. So we'll go right at the top of the show here and we'll jump into the boom or bust. And Drill, come to you first. Who's your fantasy boom for this week?
My first fantasy boom for this week is Vikings running back Dalvin Cook. Great game from him yesterday. 92 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Also had 2 targets, 2 receptions for 27 yards. Overall, 26.1 fantasy points, and thus far this season, it's his highest points total. And I thought he had a great game yesterday.
Yeah, he done really well, and a lot of folk were sort of stashing Alexander Mattison last week and the week before, knowing that injury, the way Cook goes, he does pick up some injuries.
Yep.
So
I think he was traded twice in our league.
That's correct, yeah.
Traded twice
Unbelievable.
already.
But what about your bust?
My bust for this week, unfortunately, he's on my team, and I went in for him. I went hard to get him. It's Christian Kirk for this week. So projected at 13.16 points, he only got 2.1 points. He had an overall of 3 targets, 1 reception for 11 yards. And unfortunately, there was other wide receivers that were getting more joy than him. The likes of Zay Jones, also Etienne, and Marvin Jones getting the most with 11 targets, 7 receptions for 104 yards. And I think if he's out there in waivers, I think he could definitely be one for people to pick up. But for me, Trevor Lawrence needs to get his finger out and start hitting Kirk again.
Yeah, hopefully. What about you, George? What are you thinking for your bust boom this week? Sorry, I think you've just touched on your bust, but we'll get to that. Who's your star man in fantasy football this week?
I mean, it's a bit of a cheat code. So I'm going to say Cooper Kupp, just because he seems like the only guy. Number 1, I've got him on my fantasy team. Number 2, Stafford seems to only have eyes for Kupp, and he always seems to at least score me at least 15 to 20 points every single week.
Yep.
Granted, it's done me nothing this week because I'm absolutely battered. All my players have done absolutely nothing. And that kind of speaks to what the Rams have been doing this season. I think they're struggling quite a bit. They miss OBJ, they miss Van Jefferson. They're struggling. You know, Andrew Whitworth, not having him as left tackle is causing a big issue as well for Stafford. But just generally, they don't look the same. But that kind of segues me into my bust as well in terms of, you know, guys that are doing well, guys that aren't doing well. And really, I kind of want to just put out the whole Colts offense. I just want to put out the entire Colts team. But I won't do that. I am going to go with Jalen Waddle, another guy that I have on my team. But I guess you can kind of say, you know, it was kind of always going to go that way. No Tua. Teddy comes into the game. Teddy 2 gloves, that is, comes into the game. And he's out pretty immediately. I think the first quarter, I was out at this point, so I couldn't actually see what happened. I was told. But concussion protocol, we know what's happening right now. It's a very hot topic after, you know, guys are getting up and they're wobbling on the field, and, you know, you've seen what happened to Tua, and it's scary stuff. I can't even name.
From what we were told in the live broadcast with Bridgewater, was he actually passed the protocol with the Dolphins? But it was a ruling from the doctors in the stand from how he sort of behaved when he took the hit. Yeah, that they ruled him out. So it's good to see them taking action.
I mean, nobody wants... You have to put it this way, right? These guys, yes, they're playing and they're being paid a hell of a lot of money, but they have a life after football, whether people like it or not. Obviously, we talk about fantasy and we want to win, so we want our players to be on the field, but these guys are humans too. So, you know, at the end of the day, you just want them to be able to be healthy post-football. But in terms of Jalen Waddle and his 3.8 points, this is in my league, half PPR, 2 QB league. He was never really going to do anything once you had Teddy and Tua out. I can't even name who the third backup was. I don't recall what his name was. But, yeah.
We can't even help you, no.
Exactly. Yeah, so,
we might be able to get him on the show.
Exactly.
Yeah, do it.
No, but my fantasy bust for this week, Gabe Davis.
Boom.
Boom, I'm all over the place now.
Bust at 30 points, you know, he could have done better. You know?
Yeah. He's thrown me off, but it's one of these ones that I'm going to be called a hypocrite from everyone that watches this show, because I pushed him heavily in the pre-season. He didn't really do it for me to start with. And then all of a sudden he switched on red zone. Within minutes, he's got that
93 yard, I think
98
it was.
yarder. It was an absolute bomb from Josh Allen. And then later on a 62 yarder. So 6 targets, 3 receptions, 171 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, 32.1 points. So I am taking that for Gabe Davis as my boom for this week. And I'm loving it.
That's 20 less points than George got.
Literally, honestly, man, I'm struggling so bad. It's unbelievable. I think I might be on for lowest week of the season so far in this league. It's atrocious, man.
Oh, the wooden spoon award.
Yeah, literally, that's where I'm headed right now.
So I've got my trusty tight end who's done me a sort of solid average 9 to 10 points each week, but he's let me down this week. Tyler Conklin, 0 points, 1 target, no receptions. And I can't believe it, but I'm lucky I've won the game. But Tyler Conklin, he's got to do better next week, so he's my bust for this week, and I'm not too happy about it. But anyway, we'll move on from that. We'll move on actually on the subject of NFL being in London this week and you playing your big part in the media side of things down there. Roger Goodell's comments this week, very encouraging for things in the UK. I know, Drew, that we've spoke about it quite a lot on here. Need for the support over here to have a franchise, and Roger Goodell delivered it even more. But actions do speak louder than words, and for anyone that's not heard it, basically all he said is there's no question that London could support not just one team, but more than one. He was then prompted again when he spoke about having Tottenham and Wembley, and then spoke about Munich and Frankfurt, saying that perhaps we could maybe have a division. Drew, come to you first on this. Are we going to see progress in this? Is this finally the breakthrough that we need?
I think it needs to be. Every other year there's only been really one game in London, isn't there? Obviously this year there's 3 games, and at that, so far it's been 2 big games. You know what I mean? You've got the Saints and the Vikings, and then obviously Sunday's game. That was a massive game. Like George said, Green Bay coming over for the first time, and then putting on a show like that. You know what I mean? And the Giants putting on a show as well. I thought it was amazing, but I feel now this is a point in time. We have got the support here that could definitely support at least one franchise, and I do think, I agree, the massive support over the whole of Europe now could definitely get a division. Just watching Red Zone, and you see the teams like obviously the Panthers and the Jags. I know obviously the results weren't really going their way, but the cameras pan to the crowd, and it's empty.
Yeah,
it's totally empty. And yeah, they were absolutely getting thrashed in both games, and they were very poor games. But I don't think that would happen here. The thing is, you look at the London games, you see people in the crowd with Dolphin shirts on, shirts that aren't being represented in those games, and the fans are still going to watch it. So if these teams came over and had franchises here in Europe, it's not going to just attract the fans that support those teams. It's going to attract everybody that just wants to go and watch the NFL play, So I definitely think it could happen, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And George, you're sort of in amongst it down there, and you would have seen the crowds and the excitement that buzzes around it. And I know from keeping up with it on social media, the pubs are absolutely full of NFL fans. Is this something you can see happening on a sort of bi-weekly basis if we did have a franchise over here?
So, I've played for 11 years. I've been in amongst pretty much everything, all kinds of talk with regard to franchises over here and elsewhere. I don't know if you're aware, but there's a league currently called the ELF, which is the European League of Football.
Yeah.
Pretty much every European team has a city. Turkey has the Istanbul Rams. They've just announced a new team in Paris. There's a team in Belgium, Italy, pretty much everywhere. The UK is the only place that doesn't have a team, and it's purely down to sort of red tape, logistics, pricing, accommodation. Long story short, I don't think we're ever going to see a franchise here. And I know a lot of people are probably thinking, how could I say that, and why could I say that? Because Roger Goodell has said otherwise, but we've heard the same thing for years, over and over and over again. And when you really look at it, he even said we could have a division, like you mentioned. He said, well, we can go one step further and have a division. We don't even have the logistics to support a team who would have to fly back and forth from God knows wherever, stateside. And if it means that they do, they were talking about Tottenham, and then they were talking about Wembley, and then potentially other locations in Europe. Logistically, I just don't think it works. And that's kind of the general consensus from people. If you speak to people who, I don't know, maybe know the game a little bit more, have been involved in it for a while, it's Roger said, but I'd say I'm 85% sure we never see a franchise over here. If there was a franchise here, I think it would do really well, just because you guys mentioned it. When you go to games in London, or even possibly in Europe, not only do you see the fans of the teams that are playing, but every fan wears their own jersey, regardless of what team support. They just come out because they want to see the game of American football. But it's the fans who are there to see their own team play. So the Packers game, for example, and the Giants game, yes, tons of Packers fans, loads of Giants fans, but also loads of every other team too. We sell out Wembley. Wembley gets sold out every year whenever we do have games there. The Tottenham game, the Packers and Giants game was a record attended game, 61,000 something, the highest they've had there. So that's not an issue. That will sell out every time. But logistically, for the players, the teams, the operation of it all, I can't see it happening.
Yeah, there is a thirst for it. There absolutely is a thirst for it, but I kind of sit in the fence a wee bit here. I can see where you're coming from, where when I watched the video of Goddells saying it, I almost felt like he was playing like lip service to the crowd that were there, like he was playing to the gallery a wee bit, knowing that we really, really want it and we crave it. But like you say, Judge, is it the EFL that's called, am I right in saying that?
The European League of Football, the ELF.
The ELF, yeah. So maybe there's an option for that to grow. I know in the States, we've already spoke, like I think we spoke about it in pre-season, one of our subjects, things like the XFL, I know we tried it, was it the EFL that got shut down by COVID and stuff like that. So I think there is a gap in the market for a sort of feeder league where guys that don't quite make it can get that opportunity to kick on, but I just can't see where it's coming from. When you look further into it with Goodell and that side of things, that who would move here, and then when you look at who would move here, if he's talking about a division, really, I think you'd be looking at expanding the league there. You wouldn't move 4 teams over here. That would be crazy. There's no 4 teams that would move here. So I can't see it happening, but I'd love to see it happening. I think we can all agree with that.
The whole thing about the logistics of it, that makes sense, you know what I mean? If teams are travelling over, you know what I mean, how long does it take to get to Florida and things like that? 10 hours you're talking, you know what I mean? In terms of jet lag, how does that, you know what I mean, compare to these teams that have got athletes? They're not going to be able to possibly perform at the highest level, you know what I mean? Would it give people an advantage over other teams? Quite possibly, you know what I mean? Because people aren't going to be able to be as good as they could be if they're only travelling 1 or 2 hours on a plane or whatever. So that does make sense, that in that point of view. But it would be great to see.
Yeah, you think of the recovery, and like you say, George, you've played the game. You know what it's like after such a physical game. It's the most physical game on earth, where you're trying to get recovery on what would you say, like an 8 hour to 10 hour flight on your way back home. You're cramped up on these small planes. I don't know if it would be small planes in terms of the big teams.
It's no Ryanair.
It's not quite the easy jet I'm used to. But yeah, logistically. But no, keeping with NFL London, yesterday, my New York Giants defeated the Green Bay Packers, and this is just a message for anyone listening to put some respect in our name. No one's been taking this serious until now. We've been looked upon as, at first it was the worst 3-0 team, and then the worst 3-1 team. We're now 4-1. We beat the number 1 seed from last year of the AFC. We beat the number 1 seed from last year in the NFC. It's about time someone started taking the New York Giants serious. We are a different beast under Brian Daboll, and I thought we were outstanding yesterday. What was it like at the stadium, George?
I mean, when I made my way to the stadium, it was clear to see that Packers had come out in force, and they really had. I'd say it was 60-40 in terms of the ratio, in terms of Packers fans to Giants fans. And the Packers didn't start off too great, to be fair. Aaron Moore just missed a couple of open passes to Romeo Doubs. And the Giants were basically trying to get Saquon Barkley the ball, trying to get him involved, which obviously the defense of Packers knew, because you don't have many receivers right now. Sterling Shepard is out. Kenny Golladay just got paid and run away. You got Wandale Robinson, Kadarius Toney. I don't know what's happening with him, but he's a guy that I really like. He doesn't get much game time. I think he's injured.
He's on his third hamstring injury since the summer.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, yeah, he probably won't be coming back. Brian Daboll has done a great job. I mean, first things first, this is the first time that 2 teams in London came to play with a winning record. We've never had 2 teams with a winning record, which is amazing in itself. And obviously the fact that you're going to see Aaron Rodgers is spectacular, but also Saquon Barkley, who did in the end put his skills on show. But it was a case of the Giants just slowly built momentum throughout the game. And I'll tell you what, your defense is good. You've got a really good young defense. Again, people don't put too much respect on your name because of guys like Daniel Jones. I get it. But you guys are doing really well. And if you look at it, Brian Daboll's come in and, the team hasn't massively changed. Saquon is healthy. That's the number one thing. He's healthy. He's got no injuries. And he said it himself. He's coming back to take what he is rightfully his. And I think he might still be the number one rusher. I'm not too sure yet after this weekend. But
Chubb had quite a few big runs that he did.
I think it's between him and Nick Chubb at the moment, yeah. But no...
the Giants just kept going. They didn't let up. And they just did the basics right, and they ended up winning the game.
Yeah, and you said there about Daniel Jones. I say it every week here that he's not a franchise quarterback for me, right? But what I'm seeing is a guy who's maturing and he's improving every week. Now, you look at that offense. In fact, we'll start with the O-line. We'll start with the guys that were out. Leonard Williams out before the game. During the game, Ojulari gets injured. And then you look... for a big part of that game and sort of a real important part of the game, Saquon Barkley's completely out of the game.
Yep.
Take that on top of Wan'Dale Robinson being out. We spoke Kadarius Toney, Kenny Galladay, the Invisible Man. He's got no targets whatsoever. And in my opinion, would you agree with me here, Drew? That is Daniel Jones' best game in a New York Giants jersey.
I think you have to say so. He was absolutely phenomenal. Could you say he didn't really put a finger wrong, did he? I don't think did he throw an interception, anything like that? I don't think he even did. I don't think he did.
I think Green Bay threw an interception actually.
Yeah. I think they did. Yeah, I think
Daniel Jones was alright.
Yeah, and I think like I said to you coming in the car, I thought he was brilliant considering he was nursing that high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
And usually you would see him rushing a wee bit more, last week 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yep.
But this week he didn't have to do it. He trusted what was around him. I did think they would struggle having only Barkley there. I thought they were going to be a one-dimensional offense, I just felt like it's going to be, right, hand it to Barkley. Where's Barkley? Throw it to Barkley, But he switched it up and they done a few different plays and it worked for them. Yeah,
let's be honest. He's never going to be a Tom Brady, a Josh Allen, or a Patrick Mahomes. He's playing situational football under Brian Daboll, and it's brilliant to see in the defence. It's coming up trumps, like you said, George. I think Martindale's done an unbelievable job, and some of the goal line stops yesterday was just outstanding. That last drive from the Green Bay Packers, where the game was on the line, McKinney comes up trumps, batting the ball away, and we go and get the win. Unbelievable, and I couldn't be happier.
That young boy in the defence that you said he was good. You picked him up in the draft this year.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
You mean Kayvon Thibodeau? No?
There we go.
There's my guy, number 5. He has really made a difference since he's come back. But we've been needing something like that, some guy that can get stops and make plays, and he's a guy right now. So long may that continue. But the next game we're going to look at, the Chargers defeating the Browns 30-28. How did you see this one, Drew?
Chargers defeating the Browns. Well, it was very good for me because I had Nick Chubb and I've got Amari Cooper. Nick Chubb starting off really, really fast. He got a touchdown really, really quickly. But I thought it was a really good game, end to end. I think, again, you need to highlight Jacoby Brissett. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal again yesterday. He moves, he can pass. After the first week, I was really, really panicking because I had Cooper and he didn't target him at all. It just looked, he didn't have a clue what he was doing. But in the weeks leading up to this, he's been brilliant. He's really, really turned the corner, I think, Brissett. And I was saying to you, what do you do when he's playing like this and you've got Deshaun Watson coming back in week 12, 13?
15.
Week 15. Yeah. Does he play? He's not throwing a ball in a year and a half. Like, does he come in? Does he play? Or do you stick with Brissett?
Yeah, I think it'll be a more gradual sort of inclusion. It just depends.
I've got him on my team.
It just depends where the Browns are at that point in the season. But who stood out for you in this one, George?
So before the season started, I always said the Browns had, I say, top three in terms of the 1-2 punch running back combos in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Even if you throw Dearness Johnson out there, who obviously doesn't get much game time, but when called upon, he's quite good too. So that's the one thing they know they're always going to have. They always can rely on their run game because Chubb and Hunt they'll do it for you. They'll get you the yards. They'll score the touchdowns, and they can basically carry the team on their back. But the thing that I know Jacoby Brissett just because we had him at the Colts, and when we didn't have Andrew Luck and we had to ride with Brissett, and he's a capable quarterback. He isn't a franchise quarterback in my opinion, but he played really well. He made some great moves, like you mentioned, Drew. He moved around the pocket really well. Quite elusive when he wants to be too. He looks a bit clunky when he does it, but he can be quite elusive.
Yeah.
Obviously, he didn't end the game very well with that interception. That was unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't, drive down the field, and that's not how you want to end the drive. But for me, it was the running backs. They stood out really well. Amari Cooper, who started off the season very quiet, has come into his own a little bit. They've paid the guy, so they got to get him the ball, and they've been doing that. They've been getting him the ball, and that's great for him. But I have to say, the Chargers, even if you remove the fact that Justin Herbert has the bruised ribs, or J.C. Jackson was injured for the first 4 games, they've not lived up to the hype. No. I know Keenan Allen has been hurt. His hamstring, 5 weeks now or something crazy. Eckler's only just started to turn up the last 2 or 3 weeks maybe. Bosa's out with a groin injury. I think they lost another guy on their O-line. I can't remember what his name was, but they're struggling. I know they won this game, but, preseason there was a lot of talk about the Chargers winning this AFC West.
Yeah.
I don't think I had them that high, and I definitely didn't have Kansas as I didn't have them winning supreme. But I think the Chargers, they're struggling a little bit, and they got to do something quick. I know they won this week, but they got to turn it around. Yeah,
Keenan Allen maybe coming back soon would be timely inclusion for them. Mike Williams has been doing okay, but they need a bit more. I think they need more from Herbert. You can tell he's playing through an injury, but there'll be a few fantasy owners that were sitting on Austin Eckler thinking, oh God, he's not going to be quite as good as last year, but he turned up yesterday, 35.9 points. Joshua Kelly, also the RB2 there, 16.2 points. So probably a steady pickup if you're carrying a lot of injuries. You get sort of buys coming up in your fantasy league. Someone like Joshua Kelly might get you 10, 12, 13 points a week. A steady flex.
Last year, Eckler, he got injured last year. He was out for 2 weeks, I think it was.
Yeah.
So Joshua Kelly could be a good pickup because it looks like he's going to share some snaps even when Eckler's fully fit. So it might be a good pickup, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So the third game we'll touch on here, the Saints defeating the Seahawks 39-12, high scoring game. I thought it was a good game. I thought Kamara owners will be very happy because once again, a wee bit like Eckler, you've got Kamara, am I right?
I've got Kamara, yes.
That's right, but as well now, injuries at the Seahawks. I've got Chris Olave. He got the touchdown, but he was also concussed during it. So I think guys like Mike Thomas been out and Jarvis Landry didn't make the game as well. So stashing someone like Marquez Callaway or Jaquan Smith in the waivers this week might be a good idea if you're in search of a wide receiver. I don't know if any of them are going to be sort of fantasy superstars, but good idea to stash them. But I don't know if you caught the side of Taysom Hill scoring over 40 points in fantasy. What's your take on that?
So Winston was out again. I was lucky enough to go to the Saints presser before their game against the Vikings. Was it the Vikings? Who did they play? Saints, Vikings. Yeah, it was. I was lucky enough to go to that presser. In fact, I saw them once on Monday and then again on Wednesday. Winston on the Wednesday was apparently supposed to practice, and then we kind of find out that he didn't practice on Thursday, and then he's out for the game. Well, doubtful, and then out. And then Kamara was out too. Michael Thomas. So you started to think to yourself, this game's going to go one way, but the Vikings end up winning. But this game in particular, I have to say credit to the Seahawks because they're doing what a lot of people didn't think they could do, especially when you have Geno Smith, someone we haven't seen start in the league for I don't know how many years now. You trade away Russell Wilson, doesn't seem to be cooking very well with Denver. And Geno Smith, he's got the wheels, he's still got Tyler Lockett, he's still got DK Metcalf. Unfortunately, Rashard Penny is out for the season. If people haven't seen it yet, I can't remember what his injury was.
He broke his tibia, it's a broken ankle.
Ouch. Right, There you go. So he's out for that. So we're looking at, I think, Kenneth Walker III it is now.
Yep.
Who's the backup. So credit for the Seahawks. I mean, they've put up a lot of points. I think the tight end Will Disley's been quite well involved in the game too. And I actually wanted them to go on and win this game, but the Saints did win in the end. I mean, they've got guys like Chris Olave, the rookie wide receiver, who's lightning pace, really, really good. Kamara showed up, like you said. I think, Drew, you've got him on your team, and he put on a performance. But Andy Dalton isn't. You couldn't do worse. I mean, he's a great backup quarterback. He's efficient. He knows what he's doing. But Taysom Hill is a Swiss Army knife. And the thing is, they script a number of plays for Taysom Hill every single game, regardless of the situation, whether he hands the ball off or keeps it himself. But 9 times out of 10, you know what's happening. So it's just crazy that teams still can't stop what he does. And I know he threw a touchdown pass, but he also runs the ball more times than not. And teams still can't seem to figure it out. Over 40 points in fantasy is nuts. He just completely lit up the game. Yeah. And the Saints kind of come out on top. They need Michael Thomas back, though, for sure.
You said that exact statement last night, Kim, when we were watching Red Zone together. You said, when you see Taysom Hill come on the park, every defence knows what's going to happen, yet they still can't stop him.
Yeah.
And
you know what my complaint is, and I heard it on a podcast this morning, and it is so right. He's down as a tight end in fantasy football. Now, that is not fair. The guy's taking snaps as a quarterback. He's throwing touchdown passes. I think, was it 2 rushing touchdowns yesterday? 3 rushing touchdowns?
3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, and to cap it all off, he takes a punt return as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything he doesn't do?
The water.
The water. He's a water boy, isn't he? Taysom Boucher.
Bobby Boucher.
No, but the guy is phenomenal.
Great.
Yeah.
He's great.
You picking him up on waivers, Kim?
Well, no, because I've had him, right? I had him, was it the first week?
Check that.
Yeah.
Get him.
Check him if he's on waivers. But this is the thing. I picked him up in the first week, and I was in a lot of sort of NFL UK group on Facebook and on Reddit, and folk are saying, pick him up at your peril. He's a fantasy thief. He'll steal points one week, then the next week he'll score you nothing. He's a weird one. He's not consistent enough for me.
It was so frustrating for me last night watching it, and I've got Kamara. Kamara gets him all the way up to about 10, 15 yards out, and I'm like, here we go. Right, he's going to get another wee 6, 7, 8 points. On comes this absolute
unit of a man.
Yes, we'll call him that. Yeah, unit of a man, and just runs it in 3 times. It's ridiculous.
Stat for Taysom Hill, so he becomes only the 3rd player in the NFL history with at least 100 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and a passing touchdown in the same game.
Jesus.
Only Ronnie Brown and LD Tomlinson has done it. That's a crazy, crazy stat. That's unbelievable.
That's nuts.
That is insane. And when you look around the league, like, you don't see other players like this.
No.
He's a one-off for now. Maybe other folk are kind of take notice, but freak athlete, absolute freak athlete.
Think he could play in defence as well?
He probably could.
He could. He's a unit, isn't he? He is a unit.
Yeah, he probably could. But what we'll do now, in fact, touching on one wee thing there, George touched on it as well. Rashad Penny out and Kenneth Walker. Looks like he's going to be the RB1 there, probably carry the fair weight of the snaps. He's only rostered in 44% of leagues at the moment, according to PFF. He has got to be the number 1 waiver wire pickup if he's still out there in your league at the moment. And he is a very, very talented running back, so it wouldn't be a very bad pickup at all. But no, before we move on to the rest of the games, we'll jump to an ad here from our sponsors, who's G4 Claims. G4 Claims, who we're in their podcast studio at the moment, not only do what you see at the moment, they also do claims, so go and check them out at notatfaultclaim.com.
Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
If you've been hurt in a road accident that wasn't your fault, you should really talk to G4 Claims first. Unlike road accident solicitors, we don't charge you for our services, which could see you better off. To keep 100% of your compensation, have a chat with Nicole and the team. You'll be glad you did. Search online for G4 Claims.
Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
Welcome back, and once again, thanks to our sponsors from G4 Claims, notatfaultclaim.com. Okay, so we're going to move on to the rest of the games, and I'm going to come to you first, being our resident Colts fan here, George. Before I jump into it, right, and we ask our guest this every week, what brought you to support the Colts?
All right, so it's a bit of an interesting story. The first time I played the game of Madden, I think I bought the game because I wanted to get into the sport, loaded it up on my PlayStation, and it must have been when the Colts were doing well because the first team that popped up when you select a team was the Colts, and I was like, whatever, horseshoe, I don't know anything about this team, you're now my team, and that was it. There was no glory hunting, no research, no touchdown to interception ratio, absolutely nothing. Just, you're the first team that I've seen, you are my team. And that was it.
I love that. It's similar to one of our other guests who we said, why do you support the Panthers, wasn't it? And he said, yeah, I used to play WWE on the PlayStation. My favourite tag team were the Hardy Boys. They were from Charlotte, Carolina.
Yeah.
So then Charlotte, Carolina to the Carolina Panthers. I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah. Hardy Boys are great, man. Love a bit of WWE.
Yeah, you and me both.
Oh, you'll get you on another podcast for that, George.
I grew up watching everything, man. I grew up watching WCW, ECW, like every single thing. It's like, yeah.
The Monday Night Wars. We could go off track and go on here for ages.
I'll talk about real man stuff, right?
Hey, that's enough. Come on. Talking about real man stuff, we'll come back. The Colts. This game, it's not really one we're going to rewatch, is it?
No. The Colts are behaving like the old Arsenal. Beat the big teams, lose to the small teams. I don't understand. I mean, I do understand. Essentially, we've ignored the wide receiver position since Reggie Wayne and Peyton Manning. We haven't drafted anybody of any caliber, and that's continued to this day. And then we've got rookie Alec Pierce, who I think looks really good. So he's a promise. We've had, I think, the last 6 years now, we've had a different quarterback every season. Naeem Hines, the running back behind Jonathan Taylor, came out and said, we have to sit here with a new quarterback every single year, build the chemistry every single year, get used to each other every single year, cadences and all. Meanwhile, our rivals in Tennessee Titans have had Tannehill for how long? They know everything works seamlessly for them. Yes, they might not be a great team right now, but the whole point is we cannot just continue to have a new quarterback. I mean, it's even looking like we might have another one because Matt Ryan is horrible. Like, Matt Ryan, I know you ain't going to watch this, so it doesn't matter. Matt Ryan is just, like, oh my God. I'm starting to think, would I rather have had Wentz just because he's mobile? Matt Ryan is not a mobile QB. We know that. Our O-line has just turned to I don't know what's happened. We've just lost all form of how to do our job. Yes, we paid Quentin Nelson, and everybody else just seems to be a bit trash on the O-line right now. So we can't protect Matt Ryan. We can't open holes for Jonathan Taylor. He's now injured. We don't have any wide receivers to throw to. So when our O-line can't stop these defenders, Matt Ryan has nowhere to go but to fumble the ball or be sacked. It's on repeat. It's just a record on repeat. It's really horrible to watch. It's painful to see, bearing in mind how we sort of lost our 2 games against the Jags and the Raiders last season. And then we open up this season with a draw, what I call it a loss to the Houston Texans, get pummeled by the Jags. We can't break that curse. We seem to always lose. And then we beat Kansas. I don't know how, but our defense came to play. That's our only strong point, I'd say. Defense looked really good. I know we lost Quitty Pay. I don't know how serious the injury is, but our defense, I mean, again, Stephon Gilmore, the 2 games we've won have been all down to him. So he's been a great signing for us, breaking up plays, getting interceptions. Our defense is great, and I'm not too concerned about that. But then you go and play Denver in a horrific showing of a game from both sides of the ball. I mean, you've got Broncos reporters apologising to fans.
Oh my God.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy. You just kind of expect Russell Wilson to come in and, do the job, but it hasn't really gone that way. And I think there's a lot of Nathaniel Hackett to blame because he's not too sure what he's doing. But bringing it back to the Colts, yeah, we've got a long way to go. I'm not happy with Ryan. I don't think he can do anything for us next season. So here we go again.
Another new quarterback.
We've just paid him. Yeah, exactly. We've got draft picks this time, so it might be time to finally trade up and get one of those great quarterbacks that sit in the college ranks at the moment.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm surprised he's this bad. I thought he was a very, very good signing for the Colts. I thought he was going to kind of unlock Pittman in a way, and it's just not happened because he's a great passer of the ball. I mean, this guy's been to the Super Bowl. It's kind of just like there's a curse at the Colts. It's a funny one for me. It's a strange one.
Frank Reich needs to go too. His play call has been atrocious. Even Chris Ballard, Colts fan, probably some of the most quiet and we kind of like put up with it, fan. We're not Bills fans. We don't go crazy. We don't break tables. We don't raise our voice. I think it's been that way for too long. Chris Ballard and Frank Reich, Chris Ballard's a great end, but I think enough is enough. Clearly, it's not working. And Jim Irsay, the owner, has actually said he might actually just shove them out the door. And I'm patiently waiting because we need a change. And this cannot be the Colts going forward. We can't waste a talent like Jonathan Taylor. It's just not on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to disagree. And we'll not dwell on that game too long. I think Scott Hansen summed it up perfectly with his tweet with the coin toss going into overtime. I really hope the coin lands on its edge.
That would have been the best case scenario.
Yeah, be done with it. Yeah.
But no, the game we're going to go to the next, the Bills defeating the Steelers 38-3, and I thought the Bills looked unbelievable, but the Steelers, they look like the whipping boys. I know we've spoke about the Colts there, but they're picking up wins. The Steelers look awful. This is a Steelers team that we've been used to seeing winning all these years under Tomlin, and now what's happened to them?
And your first round draft pick there.
I'm not going to mention Najee Harris. I could have picked him as my bust this week, but I feel like I mention him every week, so please don't go there. He's lost all value. I can't even trade him away for somebody's picked up off waivers. Nobody will take him.
Poor guy's going to have a complex if he ever listens to this podcast.
I know. I want a square go. But no, I've already spoke about how good Gabe Davis was in this game. He come up trumps for me, and Josh Allen is a fantasy rock star. The guy's averaging just short of 30 points per game. Unbelievable if you've got him.
He's a cheat code, right?
Oh man, I can remember him years ago, and I was sitting in a bar in Las Vegas watching the games on a Sunday, and it was his rookie year, and he was running and he was hurdling over defenders, and
he's a big guy as well.
Yeah.
He's a big guy.
And I was like, who is this guy? And I remember the pundits saying sort of, he's not going to survive in this league if he keeps behaving like that. And well, here we are. He's the number one quarterback in the league.
Matt Ryan's got posters of him in his bedroom.
He wishes he was like him, right?
I know.
Roll back the years.
I know. But talking about a rookie quarterback, George Pickens was in at quarterback for his first start for the Steelers. Didn't really impress, but he's better than Mitch Trubisky. I suppose that's a positive.
First start, 2 fights. So it's
Well,
a
that's
decent
good.
start in it.
I wish he would take on Najee Harris on behalf of myself.
Imagine that'd be funny.
But nah, just crazy good from the Bills. Back to their best. I think it's hard to disagree that they're going to be in the Super Bowl this year. I don't feel that's a big call. I just think they're that
agree,
good.
Personally.
Yeah, I just think they're so good all over the field. Special teams, defense, offense. They've got so many weapons. They just look so good. Even Stephon Diggs as well put up 24.2 points. So between him and Gabe Davis, you're talking what? I'm going to do my maths quickly here. We're talking over 50 points fantasy football between the two of them. It's insane.
I just think all the divisions are far too tight. There is a few teams that are obviously well out of it, but I think that they're just far too tight to say that they're going to win it or that they're going to be the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? You look at the Bills, nobody expected them to get beat off the Dolphins, and they get beat off the Dolphins. You know what I mean? Nobody would have seen that coming. So I just feel like I'm not saying anything. It's far too tight, so I'll just wait to the final and then I'll say, I think they'll win.
So from George's classic with the Colts on Thursday night to the classic that we've got up next, Drew. Texans defeat the Jags 13-6. It's kind of like hold my beer stuff.
Honestly.
What did you take from this?
I don't think there's really much you could take from it. You know what I mean? It was a very poor game, low scoring. For me, the main highlight was Dameon Pierce. Great game again. Finally living up to the hype that's been surrounding him this season. But again, for myself, very poor game. Kirk non-existent. But like I said earlier in the podcast, Marvin Jones definitely pick up to look out for in waivers. 17.4 fantasy points this week, so definitely could be one to stash.
Yeah, he's getting targets, but looking further afield, the Vikings defeating the Bears 29-22. Quite a good game. What was your take in this one, George?
I mean, it's quite a divisional game. You've got the Vikings, and technically, you just say on paper, the Vikings are going to win this easy. They were ahead, and then all of a sudden, the Bears, start to claw back. You see Darnell Mooney making crazy one-handed receptions downfield. David Montgomery, who I think missed the last 2 weeks, with an injury, and you had Khalil Herbert stepping in for him. Montgomery shows up again, and he's making plays all of a sudden. Cole Kmet, the tight end, as well. The Vikings like to be difficult sometimes, and they like to shoot themselves in the foot. But I did always think they would still win the game, albeit Justin Fields tried to secure that comeback and couldn't quite do it. I like the Vikings this season. I liked them before the start of the season, mainly because they've got new head coach in Kevin O'Connell. He's come from the Rams. You saw the way he used Cooper Kupp, although the Rams, they're a bit off pace right now. And the moment he joined forces with the Vikings and brought over Zadarius Smith from the Packers, sort of declared the team as a pass-first team as opposed to run-first with the likes of Dalvin Cook. So the moment you do that, you're seeing guys like KJ Osborne, who I've loved since he entered the league, demand sort of targets, because a lot of guys are going to double cover Justin Jefferson. You then leave open Adam Thielen, Big Irv Smith, KJ Osborne, Dalvin Cook, Alexander Mattison, who sometimes I get confused with Cook because they run the same, they look the same.
They're very similar, aren't they?
And the numbers is similar as well.
2 and 4, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, right? But no, I always thought the Vikings would win the game. Justin Jefferson did what he did, and he was targeted early in the game, and I think Kirk was 13 for 13 at one point at the start of the game.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, Bears are still going to be Bears. Matt Nagy or not, they're not great. But the Vikings I think they're 4-1 now, and they're looking strong.
Yeah, I think if I read right earlier on, that's Justin Jefferson beat Randy Moss's receiving record for the Vikings. Okay. So yeah, that's a very, very good sort of podium to be on there. But no, looking forward here. I'm going to look at the Patriots defeating the Lions 29-0. They've shut them out. This is quite a surprise for me, considering how many points the Lions have been scoring. They've been free scoring, but they've also left the back door open very wide, maybe double doors open at the back.
Yeah, definitely.
They just can't seem to keep it out, and credit where it's due. Bailey Zappi, and Shug nicknamed him Bailey and Zappi.
I like that.
He's come in, he's come in out of nowhere from the Patriots. I don't think anybody would have known his name before this season started, and he's just put up 29 points against the Lions, which is unbelievable. I look around this, and Belichick's had their number. Jacoby Myers put up 24.1 points, which is quite welcome considering he missed the last couple of weeks. So that was 8 targets for 6 receptions, 111 yards and 1 receiving touchdown. So that's excellent. Damien Harris, who I tipped as my stardom for this game and this week, came off with a hamstring injury. So Ramondre Stevenson in fantasy football now becomes, his stocks went through the roof here.
Yep.
If you get a chance
I like him a lot.
Yeah. I thought this in pre-season that he was going to have a big year. Maybe not so much of a snap share with Damien Harris, but both guys very talented. But I do like Ramondre Stevenson. I can see him starting to get even more snaps now with Harris missing, because hamstring injuries isn't something that goes away overnight. It's going to be something that lingers, and if you try and play through it, then you're going to look to rest. Look at guys like Keenan Allen that have missed multiple weeks this year.
Kadarius Toney as well, obviously, you're saying.
Yeah.
Very true, yeah. So Ramondre Stevenson, if he's out there, go and get him. If you've got him and you want to trade high and take the risk, it's up to you. But nah, I'd be keeping a hold of him just now.
Toasty's got him, so you shouldn't have said that. Now we're all going to get trades for everybody.
Man, Box is
you're getting Lamar Lamar for Ramondre Stevenson.
Lamar's going nowhere. He's my boy.
MVP.
Correct. Yes, I think he's pushing for it. So just keep clocking up the points for me. I need the wins. Okay, so the Jets defeated the Dolphins. Here's another one I'm not really sure I seen coming in this stretch. It was 40-17 to the Jets, and we were very intrigued to see how the Dolphins would go without Tua. What did you see in this one, Drew?
I thought it was an absolute massive result for Jets. Jets go 3-2 now. Dolphins also go 3-2. And I think now, at the start of the season, when the Dolphins went 3-0, I don't think anybody could have seen that happening. You know, now they're on the same record as the Jets, you know. After that shocking game for the Dolphins, the big names just didn't turn up, did they? George, didn't turn up at all. And one big thing is now we hear that Hill left the game in a walking boot.
Yeah.
So you're looking there. So it might be good news for you, George. Maybe Waddle's going to get more targets in the weeks to come, you know. But yeah, I think one kind of fantasy highlight is Mostert. You know, he took a lot of the snaps from Chase Edmonds. Yeah. So I think that's one thing to highlight. But I don't think you can talk about this game without looking at the Jets, man. All their players turned up. You've got Carter, Wilson, Barrios, and Breece Hall. With Wilson back, could they now be a force to reckon with? You know what I mean? They've got the target. They've got the people out there to target. But again, can I speak about this game without saying about the disrespect, the utter disrespect from Carter doing the waddle in the end zone after he scored the touchdown?
You've got to love it.
Oh, you do. That's what you watch it for. But after see these taunting, how's that not taunting?
Oh yeah.
Like, how's that not a foul for taunting? You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, but
if they're going to be soft, then they got to be soft and give it, I suppose.
Exactly. You see ones getting given, like, and you're like, what is that for? The guy's just up in his face saying something to him, and the flag goes up. You know.
I'd rather see it not given. Have you ever been done for taunting, George?
So like the league, when I stopped last year, but the league we play in here, BAFA, British American Football Association, there's no fun. You're not even allowed to celebrate.
No way.
No gritty.
You're not allowed to celebrate. I've seen touchdowns being taken away because guys have celebrated too much.
Oh my god.
No way.
Honestly, they're just ruining the game.
Fun killers.
Ruining the game. Yeah.
George, can you do the gritty?
Oh yeah, of course. I wouldn't dare in my league though. No way, they'll take away my touchdown. Absolutely not.
I was in the Raiders Stadium.
Don't.
Should I put it up? I was in the Raiders Stadium in the summer there, and we were told before the tour no videos whatsoever. And I thought, if they're taking me out on the pitch and I'm in the end zone, I'm asking my wife to sneak a video of me doing the gritty. It's the worst gritty you've ever seen.
Yeah, but you got the video, right?
Yeah.
It must have been so awkward. Like, everybody must have been looking at you and being like, what is he doing? Like, is he just doing a gritty and nobody's allowed to video it? Like, just for his wife to see, look at me. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You know that Adam Schefter gritty that was going about? That's what it looked like. So bad. First and last. Let's put it that way.
A piece of cardboard.
That's it.
At least you was in the stadium, right? That's some stadium.
Oh, I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Some size of stadium.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Changing rooms for the cheerleaders, changing rooms for the home team, college changing rooms. They had everything. I know you're looking at me wanting to make a comment about cheerleaders.
No,
here.
I was just going to ask for the postcode.
Yeah. Super Bowl's there next year, right?
That's right, yeah.
Oh, next year after, sorry.
I think it's 2025, which falls 2024, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
That'll be a spectacle. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. It's almost like you're walking through like a museum. There's artwork everywhere, like the lounges. We got to go into the owner's lounge as well, and it was just pure marble and just like iPads at the seat where they can talk to the manager during games and stuff like that. I know they need to get that at Arsenal for Arteta.
It's Vegas, isn't
it? Yeah.
But no, we digress. We'll go on. Tom Brady. This game here, George. The Bucs defeating the Falcons 21-15, and there was just that horrible rough in the passer call that seems to have taken the spotlight in this game. Like, how did you see this one?
I mean, firstly, the Bucs obviously ran away with the game, but if you look at what the Falcons have done, I guess pretty much in all of their games, maybe but one, they've run teams close, and they should have beat the Saints earlier on in the season. Obviously, Mariota isn't going to be their guy moving forward, but he's been doing a good job. They don't have Cordell Patterson now; he's out for I think the next 4 weeks with a knee injury, so that was a big deal for them. Kyle Pitts hasn't done too much really. That fantasy owners are probably thinking, when is he going to show up? But they managed to claw it back in the fourth quarter. I think what was it,
21-15, yeah.
15. So they ran it close, that's one within a touchdown. Brady will be happy that he has the likes of Mike Evans back, Chris Godwin back, Russell Gage is healthy. Obviously, it's not the same not having Gronk, but Leonard Fournette does really well out in the backfield and running the ball too. Zamir White looks good as a backup. And their defense is their defense. Their defense is always going to be great. It's always going to be stout. And I think the defense will carry them quite a bit. But Tom Brady looked better, completing good passes, obviously winning the game. But that roughing the passer call was just atrocious. I don't understand what they saw. There was no slamming, no bodies landing on bodies. It was literally just a wrap up and sort of follow the motion through to the ground. I don't know why they threw the flag, and it just ruined the game for me personally.
Yeah, overprotecting the goat / pensioner.
Do you think if it was anybody else, it would have been called? Or do you think it's because it's him?
I don't think they would have called it if it was anybody else. They've called it purely because of Tom. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Strange, really strange.
It was weird. It wasn't even high or anything like that, was it? Like
it was clean.
It was weird.
Yeah. There was also, I remember right, there was a holding call in that game, and I was like, come on.
Is that really holding?
Yeah, it's like, come on, let the game go. Like, stop throwing flags for the sake of throwing flags. I know when it gets to playoff time, like, the referees are encouraged not to throw flags to let the games flow on. Why not just do that in the regular season? Be a bit more loose when it comes to decisions. But
was that a pun about the bees the other week?
What was that?
He said, be a bit more.
Get out, man.
I had to do it. Shug's not here, you know what I mean?
Fill in the void.
That's it. You'll be proud.
I know, but another game, not really a classic, but the Titans defeating the Commanders 21-17 in this one. The Titans went 0-2 at the start of the season. They've now won 3 in the bounce to go 3-2. Derrick Henry's back. He's really got going. I know we spoke about earlier, Austin Eckler starting to heat up now. But King Henry, my God, that's now posted back-to-back 100-yard games. And another running back in this one, it seems quite fantasy relevant, and he comes and goes. Dontrell Hilliard had a good game as well. Picked up a touchdown, but no. Carson Wentz, the good, the bad and the ugly. You'll know well from your watching the Colts.
Yeah.
And I think one of my first years playing fantasy football, I had Carson Wentz for the Eagles, and this was his first season there, and he was on fire. This guy just seems to go downhill gradually. He'll peak back up every now and again, and then he'll start to drop back down again. But there was 2 great pieces of play in this game, and this is like, I know we spoke about it, was it 2 weeks ago, fantasy bugbears, things that we hate.
Yep.
2 touchdowns for a gent named Diami Brown, right, who probably to your average American football and fantasy football fan will have never heard of him. 2 really good touchdowns, but I think he's rostered in under 1% of fantasy leagues.
It's nuts.
I know, it's to see when you've got guys that are like JD McKissick owners, Terry McLaurin owners, myself, Curtis Samuel owners, you're like, why not just throw to these guys?
Yeah.
But anyway, kept him in that, and then the madness at the end of the game with the interception with Wentz basically just killed the game in there. But another wee positive, and a big shout out to all the Brian Robinson stashers out there who picked him up, stuck him on that IR, and now you're probably going to reap the rewards. I know why you're looking at me like that, Drew, because I'm one of them.
Yeah.
But no, I loved it. We had talked about in our chat putting out, you'll like this, George, being content creation yourself. We were going to put a nice wee highlight reel of Brian Robinson before the game with Many Man in the background. But
oh my gosh,
we thought that might have been a wee bit, I don't know.
Controversial.
Yes.
They did though, didn't they?
Yeah, and then they done it, and I thought, okay, if they're getting away with it, and then I thought, the moment's gone.
I think it was the actual
You guys
NFL.
had the idea first.
Yeah.
Should have copyrighted that.
I know.
You should have done it.
That backfired.
I just find it so funny, all the crossovers in there with
I know.
50 Cent and stuff, but nah. Another one, spoke about them just there, Carson Wentz, the Eagles defeating the Cardinals 2017. Now this went to the wire, and Drew, I know you've got Kyler Murray, and he was frustrating the life out of you in your fantasy football team. Like, how do you feel now?
He's still frustrating the life out of me.
Yeah.
You know, he's so annoying. Last season, it was the first year I played fantasy football, and watching Red Zone, it was all Kyler Murray, running, touchdown, throw, everything. He was unstoppable. So I made it one of my priorities this year. I want him. He seems to start off games very, very slowly, and then after half time comes into games. You know, he walked away with over 16 points last night, but I just feel that 16 could be easily 26 or 36 if he starts earlier. You know, obviously I'm not a quarterback. He's obviously a much better player than me. You know what I mean?
Really?
I've never even thrown a ball. I don't even know what a ball looks like, you know, unless it's on the telly. So he obviously knows what he's doing. It's obviously there's nothing out there for him to throw at. But I just think he just starts so slowly every single week, and he's much better than what he's achieving right now. But you need to massive hats off to Jalen Hurts again, man.
Yeah, James Conner going out this game injured as well.
Yeah.
Eno Benjamin's stock goes through the sky as
Massively.
well. Yeah, good running back. He's a very talented running back, but Jalen Hurts, like you say, unbelievable there.
Yeah.
Devonta Smith for me, come up trumps again.
I picked up Rondale Moore as well this week in waivers, so it's quite good to see him back, and he looked good catching, running, and he looks good.
Do you know, before we move on here, am I right in saying this is the one we were like, where's Matt Prater? And it was a backup kicker that was in. Right? And seeing the broadcast booth, they must have been roaring and cheering before it, because they showed the 3 kicks before the game
funny,
in the practice, and every single one of them went right to the post, right to the post, right to the post. Runs up, smashes a kick right to the post, and the game's dead.
Me and you were just head and hands, weren't we? We were like, oh my, he's just not done that there. It was literally... Oh, you go, George.
Cardinals guys is obviously D-Hop is back. Hopkins is back.
Yeah.
6, right?
Yeah.
So this is going to be interesting. So you mentioned, Benjamin. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for the play action ball now, because obviously D-Hop is back. I don't know whether the connection is going to be there so soon, but having him on the field means you have to account for him. Whether you double cover him, triple cover, because he's beat that many times before, opens up the door for other guys like maybe Ertz or Rondale Moore, who I had last season. Didn't really get to show what he can do, but the running back room is going to be quite good, because you're going to have to respect the pass, which was going to open up the run.
Yeah. I love Hollywood Brown there. I think he's had a great season so far.
He's
but
been good.
Yeah, like you said, it might change now with Hopkins coming back. Very, very similar style of players, where it doesn't matter how much coverage you can play. These guys can do it all. Very, very good wide receivers. Very, very talented guys.
See the picture of them walking in together?
No, I didn't. No. Class.
Swag.
Did you see the picture of Kyler Murray?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, that?
Murray.
My God.
That was Murray and Hollywood Brown.
Oh,
walking
my
in
God.
together.
Green suit.
The green suit? Oh, my God.
Jeez.
That's just swag.
I mean, I'm all for that bold, but that was like what, neon green or something?
Oh, my God.
Cut neon green.
I don't care how good he is. If I'm the manager there, he's benched.
Yeah.
Aye, that's only because he's wearing green. For the royal blue suit, you're like, you're in the team, mate.
Hey, come on, we'll not go off on this sidetrack here. We'll lose listeners where we're from.
I was meaning Giants colours, mate.
Okay, we'll talk the Giants. I get you. But another game here which had a big effect on sort of New York Giants division was the Cowboys defeating the Rams 22-10. The Rams are just not doing it, George, are they?
Man, so they talk about this thing called the Super Bowl hangover, right?
Yeah.
Where I guess the winner, runners-up, whoever, they struggle to come out of the gates. You don't have OBJ. He was a massive, massive factor for them, because he did so much for them under the radar, if you like, and he hasn't been there, and he probably won't be back until I think Thanksgiving, I hear, if he returns to the Rams, that is. You don't have Van Jefferson. He's out injured. So you're down to, you got Adam Robinson, who I really was a big fan of, but just, I think Stafford just, obviously, he trusts Cooper Kupp. He is his number one guy. You've got a guy, I think, is it Skowronek, who
That's
I
right.
feel like is the Cooper Kupp 1B. Kind of similar.
That's what we keep saying that as well.
Yeah, like you get mixed up as well. Double number. They both kind of look the same.
I think he's like
Run the
18 or something like
18
that as well, I
yeah.
think it is.
He is, yeah. And the problem with the staff, so for me, it was the first thing that I noticed when the first game, because it was, what was it? Rams, Bills. Was it the first game of the
That's
season?
right.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
Bills smashed them.
Yeah. Stafford's elbow just looked, because I think he had gone for rehab, he had a few injections, didn't look all right to me. But they don't have a run game, and Stafford lives by the play action. They don't have a run game, so you can't play action. It's impossible. Defenses know what you're going to do. Cam Akers just hasn't recovered, and I mean, they rushed him back from that Achilles injury. Tore his Achilles, recovered, and played in the same season. That's
Ridiculous, isn't it?
Not to speculate, but there's something not quite right about returning from that sort of injury in 5 months.
Yeah. And then Daryl Henderson, who has his moments. They don't have a run game essentially, and that it affects quite a lot. I say all that. Cooper Kupp still finds somehow to score and do magical things on the field every single week. Then you flip it and look at the defense. They obviously signed Bobby Wagner, took him away from the Seahawks. They got Ramsey, who's been found out multiple times this season, and he does get found out every now and again. Aaron Donald. It seems like guys have seemed to have a way to double or triple coverage or triple block. They need more than just Cooper Kupp. I know Gerald Everett is out there, it looks all right, but it desperately needs someone like Van Jefferson or OBJ to come back. I like Allen Robinson, but just something just isn't right. And then you look at the Cowboys, oh my goodness, like that. I know Micah Parsons has been hurt now on the defense. I think he has a groin injury or something.
That's right, yeah.
He's obviously lights out. Cooper Rush, like what do you do? If Dak is meant to start next week, do you keep Cooper Rush or do you play Dak? Like what happens now?
I said that to you as well, don't I?
Yeah, we spoke about this yesterday. The guy's winning games.
Exactly.
It's like, you know what I mean?
Turning heads.
Yeah, it's just, you know what I mean, compared to football, if you've got a guy scoring goals, you know what I mean, are you then going to drop him for a guy that's just coming back from injury that might not perform as well? You know what I mean? I just, like, logically, you could probably say no, but in terms of obviously, he's your franchise quarterback and it's like he should be playing all this thing, isn't it? That's where it kind of comes into play, isn't it?
Yeah, regardless, he's going to make money somewhere this year.
True.
He's done well enough, so...
Dak's injury is similar to Russell Wilson's. Look what happened when they rushed Russell Wilson back. He didn't do anything, so they need to play their cards wisely here.
Yeah.
I was definitely like that wee meme last night.
Quite happy, but quite sad, but quite happy.
Cowboys fan. Yeah, Cowboys defense, but Rams fan.
I know, but yeah, looking on, another game, 49ers 37 against the Panthers, taking up 15, so I'll word that a wee bit better there. The 49ers defeating the Panthers 37-15. The Panthers are awful. They're awful to watch. Baker Mayfield's it just looks like a bad decision altogether. It's bad coming together. We've seen today that Matt Rule's now get the sack, and believe it or not, he's walked away with $40 million in his pocket.
Jesus,
unbelievable!
I know. So if anyone wants to take me, if anyone wants to take me on as a manager and pay me that sort of money to pay me off, then slide into my DMs.
Unbelievable.
I know. But when I look at the 49ers here,
what you see is what you get, right?
Oh, 100%. I was never sold on him in the first place. I'm surprised he's lasted this long.
You were going to get him, didn't you?
Yeah, before Joe Judge, the Giants were actually after him, so I don't know if that's... He was probably the better of... Yeah, probably the better of two evils, because he had a good college career in management, but it's not worked out there at all, and the 49ers they ran all over them. Jeff Wilson with one touchdown, Tevin Coleman with two. With Eli Mitchell out, either of them's quite a good pick-up in fantasy football. I'm not sure how far they're roasted. I expect Jeff Wilson to be roasted more than Tevin Coleman. Yeah. But two good guys to pick up. But for the 49ers, they're just so unlucky with injuries. I'm looking there. I've already said Eli Mitchell. They've lost Trey Lance as well. Now, Joe Bosa left the game with a tight groin. Excuse me. A broken hand to, what's his name, Jimmy... Who am I looking for here?
Oh,
blank.
On the defense.
Yes.
Yeah. I saw it earlier today. I know who you're talking about. His name escapes me, but he's obviously out as well. I mean, what can you say? Guys are dropping like flies. They always have injuries in the running back room, as it is every season. Look, Trey Sermon, the guy that they drafted quite highly, he's not even with the team.
I know.
He's with the Eagles.
It's insane. I remember looking last year and they were talking about Eli Mitchell being like the 6th round pickup there, and all the rumours were flying about before the season started last year that Eli Mitchell's going to get his turn, and everyone's like, no, they've picked up Trey Sermon and he'll be number one guy there, and then all of a sudden Mitchell broke through and he's been very unlucky this year, so I look forward to him coming back. And the other one I see there, Robbie Gould with a knee contusion as well, so he's going to miss some time, so they're now missing a kicker. But these aren't like, apart from, I know I mentioned I think right in Bosa, these aren't like, it's mostly impact injuries. Yeah. And it's just really, really unlucky. And yeah, 49 are still proving to be a good team, very well coached team as well. But another one, the late game last night, Drew, I don't think you stayed up for it. I think you left my house about 1 a.m.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
So the Bengals losing to the Ravens 19-17. How did that go?
Again, for me, it went pretty well.
Yeah.
Yes. I've got Tucker. So yeah, a lot of field goals. Yeah, so it was very good, you know. Good one for the Ravens against a Bengals side that has put a good few results together. Fantasy highlights for me. I don't think you can really mention anybody apart from Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
He's an absolute shoe-in every single week for double-digit points and even over 20 points a week. Lamar just loves to target him. And as I said, special tip of the cap to Justin Tucker. 15 points for a kicker. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, in fantasy football, there's that elite tier that's got Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce sitting on it, and then everyone else is underneath.
Yeah. I thought I'd picked up an elite tight end in George Kittle, but he's not done it yet.
I don't think I've ever drafted I will never pick up or trade for, because he will never stay healthy. His play style is very aggressive, very contact like, and I think it's just come back to get him. And I'm sure he'll be out again before the end of the season. Though.
Oh, don't say that to me.
Sorry.
What you doing to me?
And another big WWE fan though, George Kittle.
Yeah, he likes him now. He's like, George Kittle, I'm going to pick him up next year.
That's why I liked him. He done the people's elbow in the end zone when he scored once.
See you.
He's great.
I know, but that just about wraps things up for week 5, apart from the game, because we're recording on Monday night. We've got the Raiders at the Chiefs. Now, I can see this going one way. The Chiefs, kind of like the Bills, had a wee blip, but when they go. They look good. How do you see this one going, George?
Do you know what? I think the Raiders win this game.
I like that.
And I'll tell you why. I think the Raiders, I feel like the Raiders win this game. Hunter Renfrow is back, finally, after, 3 or 4 weeks out of concussion. And now you've got the triple-headed monster. Well, dare I say that, you've got the 4 guys. So you've got Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams, who they have to feed, and also Matt Collins as well, who's been making splash plays all over the place. But also, Josh Jacobs, I wasn't a fan of him in the offseason. I didn't think he was very good. He's been heating up. Now you've got the guys up front. You've got to pick your poison. Similar to what I was saying about having to defend against Hopkins and such. Now you've got to defend these guys, whilst that opens up the play-action game or the run game for guys like Josh Jacobs. I think they've got Amir Abdullah and Brandon Bolden too. Defensively, obviously they've got Chandler Jones, who they got from Arizona, on one side, and then they've got Max Crosby on the other side, which is a force to be reckoned with. Secondary isn't amazing, but I mean, our Colts secondary managed to do the job against Kansas, and I don't see why Raiders are really different. I think Josh McDaniels, I'm not a fan. I don't think he's a player's coach. I don't think he's someone the players can warm to or really get used to, not like Tua can with Mike. And obviously we know his history, his coaching history with the Broncos didn't go very far. He only managed 2 seasons with them before he was sacked. And they haven't started very well. You mentioned it, their stadium is amazing. They've put so much money into that stadium to host a Super Bowl in the next couple of years or next year. So they kind of have to start making their move. And I feel like this is a statement game. That AFC West is ridiculous. It has been talked about all preseason. The Chiefs, Russell Wilson going from the Seahawks to the Broncos, Justin Herbert at the Chargers, and obviously Derek Carr and his bestie in Devontae Adams, because they played at college together, the Raiders. So I think it's time for them to show up. I've said it on multiple podcasts this week, and I've used something called the Lock of the Week, where I probably might even have a little bet on this. 100%, I feel like the Raiders win this game. I see it. I see them winning this game. Kansas defense has been leaky.
It has, yeah. They've given up a lot of points, and I love your optimism with that. I really do. But yeah,
also I've got Devontae Adams.
There we go. There's the real reason. Here it comes.
The plot thickens.
Yeah.
Who are you taking in this one, Drew?
Well, I kind of agree with George slightly, because I just feel like the Raiders need to do something. I know they obviously got the win last week, but again, they just need to do something. They need a big result. Obviously, big trade in terms of Adams. Spent a lot of money on the stadium. You know what I mean? First year in Vegas. No,
it's not. It's the third year. Third, I think they shut down during lockdown.
Oh, right, did it?
Oh, right, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like they need to do something. I feel, but I still can't see past the Chiefs. I think Mahomes he's just something different. There's just something different about the boy. You know what I mean? He's an absolute showstopper, and I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Okay, I'll go for a tie then. I'm only kidding.
Sitting the fence.
I'll take the Chiefs. Yeah. I just like them. When they get going, they get going. They seem to have the run game starting to get going now. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a good game last week. I like the boy Pacheco that's starting to sort of come through. They're finding roles for him. And yeah, Mahomes is being Mahomes again.
Yeah.
Which we'll love to see because he's just all entertainment. He's blockbuster. But we'll wait and see how that goes. By the time this comes out, we'll know the result, so we'll know who gets it right. So
Absolutely.
Pints are on George.
The pints are on George. We'll see. Well, that's the thing. Am I right in saying you're going down to the London game a couple of weeks' time?
Yes, going down to the Broncos game. Yep.
Broncos Jags. So why didn't you put a bet on?
What on this game?
Whoever gets it, whoever wins it has, or whoever loses it has to buy the other pint.
Right. Okay. Then I'll go Chiefs, George. Right.
Yeah, I'll be there too. Oh, you go Chiefs, I'll go Raiders.
Okay, that's fine. And then whoever wins, we'll meet up and we'll buy each. Whoever the loser wins the pint, right?
That's it. You want to do some content of this, don't you?
Oh, aye, yep. I'm getting a wee mini mic, George. Do the wee mini mic thing.
Nice. I love that. That's gonna be a good game, to be honest. I think people might have been downplaying it a bit. It'll be a good game from the Jags' point of view, anyway.
I hope so.
The Jags have turned up. Yeah, the Jags look good, man. They do look good. I know they lost, but they do look good. They're doing well in the AFC South. The Broncos, on the other hand, I don't know. They got a lot of stuff to work out.
Yeah.
Devontae Williams is gone, so it's Melvin Gordon and Latavius Murray now in the backfield. So yeah, things will get interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they thought they were buying Russell to cook, and they've ended up with a microwave. It's just not happened, has it?
Exactly, I know.
Yeah.
But no, George, we'll not keep you too long. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. We appreciate that you've got a very busy schedule and we're just new guys to this game, so thank you very much. What we'll do, we'll finish off with what we do with all our guests, some quick fire questions just to get more of an insight into what you like and don't like about the NFL. So, NFL team you don't like?
I've gone with the Panthers here purely because I think they're, at the minute, an embarrassment of a franchise. If you look at what they did with their quarterback room, I think they drafted, I forget his name, they drafted a guy, Matt Corral.
Yep.
Drafted Matt Corral, brought him into the building, still had Sam Darnold, and then went and got Baker. I mean, just what a mess. And now Baker isn't the guy. I don't know if you know, but Baker's now injured, and I think PJ Walker's now slated to start. So it's just, what are they doing? Matt Rule's gone. Christian McCaffrey's not happy. So yeah, I'm going with the Panthers because I think they're just a bit of an embarrassment right now.
Love it. Stick it to them. NFL team that's overrated?
I hate to say it, but I feel like it's the Chargers. So many podcasts that I went on pre-season was full of Chargers hype, and I know they've got injuries, but so does everybody. They just, yes, they've picked up a little bit, and Eckler's done a lot, but they just haven't lived up to the hype, in my opinion. That AFC West, you can't afford to lose games like the Raiders went 0-3 or whatever they did. So for me, I feel like it's the Chargers as an overrated team this season.
Yeah, producer Greg won't be happy at that one. He's a big Chargers fan. NFL team that's underrated?
Easy. Lions. And I know they've been losing games by fine margins, same like they did last year. But everything about the Lions, and I think they can only get better. Jared Goff, you don't need him to be perfect. You need him to be efficient and reliable. They've got, I remember I sent Brown, who's a massive talent, traded for DJ Chark from the Jags. The guy they drafted, Williamson from Alabama, he's going to be a stud. He's working his way back from an injury. Then you talk about the running backs. I mean, Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift, the guy Craig Reynolds, they're just under the radar. They got a young defense, and obviously a head coach who wants to bite off kneecaps, so you can't go wrong.
I love him. I absolutely love his enthusiasm. NFL team you love? I think we'll just skip past that one. It's the Indianapolis Colts, am I right?
Do you know what? I mean, yes, but at the moment I don't love them. So I've actually put the Dolphins just because, I've put Colts and the Dolphins. Colts naturally, but the Dolphins just because they've built a track team. I know Tua is injured right now, but they've built a track team full of speed. Mostert, Waddle, Hill, Chase Edmonds. So when Tua gets back, they just kill teams of speed.
Yeah, I love it. NFL team you secretly root for? Were you hinting at that there?
Well, that's going to be Lions. Secretly root for is going to be Lions, yeah.
Yeah,
something about them in particular, just love what they're doing, what they've got going on.
Nice. NFL all-time favourite quarterback?
So I've based this one on guys that I've actually seen play, not so much in the flesh, but guys that I've actually watched. I mean, I know there's a lot of Joe Montanas and that, but I never got to actually see any of that. So I've gone with Andrew Luck. Not just because he's a Colts guy, was a Colts guy, but he had the strength, the vision, he could run, he can make the passes. And he was just really, he was one of the politest guys I've known after being hit too. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely Andrew Luck. Yeah.
Yeah, he's classy. He's a class act. NFL current favourite quarterback?
Josh Allen, without question. Don't get me wrong. Lamar Jackson is great. I love in the balls the way he does, commanding that offense. It can only be Josh Allen. I love everything that he's doing.
I'm surprised you've not said Matt Ryan.
He can get in the bin, Matt Ryan. Get lost.
Your NFL all-time favourite player?
I've put Marshall Lynch, man. I still have memories back to the Beast Quake touchdown against the New Orleans Saints where he just went for hell forever. And being that I'm a running back, two of the running backs have a soft spot for that. I will give an honourable mention to Adrian Peterson. I liked him a lot. I watched him live actually at Wembley, but I've gone with Marshall Lynch.
Yeah.
Beast mode.
I love Marshall Lynch. Can I tell you? Sorry, I'm going to sidetrack a wee bit here.
This is a story about Paisley, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So, right, see the first time that Marshall Lynch retired from the Seahawks, I was doing a job in Paisley. I'm a mobile service engineer, so I had left Paisley and seen on Twitter that Marshall Lynch is in Paisley. Now, Paisley's just next to Glasgow. I'm like, what is Marshall Lynch doing in Paisley? But I had another job, so I couldn't go back. So apparently, because there's a place in Paisley called Houston, they were doing a promotion with Skittles. And Marshall Lynch was in Paisley, and I seen a video of him on Twitter on, you know, these sort of lowrider BMX style bikes.
Yeah.
He was playing chicken with the buses.
I think he went for a Greg's.
God, and you couldn't get down.
Yeah. So I would have met him. I knew exactly where he was, and I didn't go. And I regret it now because he's so good. He was one of the guys that got me into it. That was round about the time where he was just carrying guys. But no, we'll move on. So where are we next year? The NFL current favourite player?
Matt Ryan.
This is a bit of a you wish. It's Josh Allen again. Everything that he's doing right now, it amazes me. Even though, like, I know they've just lost Isaiah McKenzie as a wide receiver, and obviously on their defense, Davis White is he? I don't think he's back. Or is he?
I don't think
he was questionable. He was inactive obviously for Sunday there, but I think they are probably expecting him to be back for this week now.
Yeah,
I know that because he's on my team.
Like I mentioned it earlier, I'm just seeing his progression, the things they wanted him to work on, his throw mechanics, his wind up of the ball, his arm angle, the finer details, the things that people don't really look at, I look at, and he has made leaps and bounds, and he deserves to win the Super Bowl. He deserves it. Yeah,
he's an all-rounder. He's got everything. And to round it off, the NFL's most overrated player.
Oh my gosh. Can I do two? I've gone for two here.
Go for it.
One of them, I think, is Jadeveon Clowney, who had a massive, he had that big hit in college, which kind of propelled him to stardom. Ever since then, he's kind of been, I know he's had a few injuries, which always disrupts players, their rhythm and things. But for me, he's just been, he hasn't done anything at all. He's bounced from team to team, demanding new contracts, and there's nothing. But the real guy I want to put out here is your guy, your wide receiver, Kenny Golladay.
Oh, man. That's a good shout.
Talk about contracts.
Just $72 million deal. Yeah, I don't know what his guarantees were, but he signed that deal, took a lot of money, and has done nothing. Absolutely nothing. Yet he's, I think, a couple of weeks ago demanding targets and saying he's not happy. You don't do anything. You don't bring anything to the squad. Get the hell out.
Yeah, he's not nice in that dressing room, I feel, because if I'm right in saying a couple of weeks ago we got the win, he had his locker room cleared and out the door before the media could get in, and that's always a bad sign. And even before we signed him, there was talk of Allen Robinson, there was talk of him, and I always thought Allen Robinson would be good, but I'd never really fancied Golladay before he came. I just don't think he fancied the sniff test. I just don't know. It's just not worked out, but that one will go down in history for the previous regime, and it seems that we're on the right path now. Fingers crossed it keeps going.
Here we go. You're going to get beat next week now.
I know, I've cursed it.
Not going to win a game for the rest of the season.
I know, but we could go on forever. Drew, thank you as ever for joining us, stepping in for Shug. I think he's lost his place now.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think you've done fantastic.
I'll need to work on my puns then.
And George, I've already said it. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been our pleasure.
Oh, absolutely, anytime, man. Like I say it on all the, I'd never turn down a chance to speak football. I love the sport. I'm so obsessed with it. So anytime I get to talk football, I'm always going to do it. So absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone who's listened and watched. Please subscribe to us, please like us. We're steadily getting there with the numbers, but we want to keep it going. So, yeah, get behind us, and thank you very much. And it's time for me to say goodnight. Thank you. Goodbye.